start again. Hi, I'm Michelle Jorgensen with Mountain Mahogany Stakes Self-Reliance, and today I want to talk to you about a topic that's not very exciting and honestly one that not a lot of people want to talk about, but it's something that in a disaster or in an emergency situation will be a life or death matter. What we're going to talk about is sanitation, and the reason it's a life or death matter is because a lot of us have no idea what we would do about our waste in any time of emergency. Now, I just had a class about this, and the thing that really opened my eyes that I had not thought about is the speaker talked about if there was an earthquake and the earth moved. Well, think about where all of the plumbing lines are. At first, I just thought, well, we might lose our sewer system because the water might go out. Well, that's only the beginning part of the problem. The rest of the problem is that all the piping for the sewer systems go underneath the earth. So if the earth were to move, all of that piping system would be broken up, which would mean months, if not years, before repairs could really be made. So this is a serious issue in times of disaster. And the other thing that really we are faced with is that we've never had these kinds of things to deal with before. You know, my entire life, if I had to go to the bathroom, I went to the bathroom, I used the toilet, I flushed, and it went down, and I didn't have to think about it. Well, in the time of a disaster, if we were to lose that sewage system, we wouldn't be able to do that anymore. So a lot of people will say things like, oh, I'll just go bury it in my yard. Well, that sounds great, except for guess what? That buried waste is now going to attract all sorts of vermin, snakes, rats, rodents, insects. Well, those things carry disease. So they'll go from home to home as they travel and take that infected or diseased waste from home to home. So this is something that we really can't mess around with, and we really do need to learn about. And there's some simple things that we can learn. Now, the class that I took was great. It was by a woman who goes by First Responder Mom. So I really encourage you to look her up. I'm going to do a very simplified version of what she teaches online. She has a 5-series course on YouTube that teaches you all about the reason we should worry about sanitation and also what to do about it. I'm going to do a very shortcut version so that you can get it a quick and simple way. But that's really where I'm getting my information from. She does a great job on there. So the first thing you have to think about if the sanitation system or the sewer system were to go down is, first of all, we don't want anything coming back into our homes. And if there were pipe breakage and then other people on the line who had backing up happening, it may back up into our homes as well. So we want to be able to plug off our system from the rest of everyone else's system. That's the first thing we're going to do is create what we call a dry potty. So it's kind of an interesting thing that you're going to do. You're going to take a tube sock, a men's tube sock, long if possible. It doesn't need to be new. It can be just something old out of your drawer. And you're going to put a racquetball inside of that tube sock. Why in the world are you going to do that? Well, I'll tell you. So you're going to put that racquetball inside the tube sock. I haven't even actually opened this up, but I do want to show you. So let's open this up and show you while I'm doing it. The reason you're going to do that is you want to block off the pipes that come into your home. So you're going to take that racquetball and you're going to put it down in the bottom of that tube sock. Once it's in the bottom of the tube sock, you're going to grease that up just a little bit. So that's what the Crisco's for. So this is the next thing in your kit is a little bit of Crisco. I got tube socks and racquetballs to fit every single one of my toilets because as you think about it, it's not just one toilet you're dealing with. So I got enough racquetballs and tube socks and Crisco to take care of all of them. So you're going to put a little bit of Crisco or a little bit of grease on this ball. Then you're going to go to your toilet. You're going to clean the toilet. The water, if you flush it, should go out and stay out. If it's an emergency situation and we've lost water pressure, the water will go out and stay out. Or you can also use a toilet plunger or a toilet cleaner. And if you plunge the water back down the drain, you'll be able to drain all the water out of that toilet. Once it's dry, you're going to clean it spick and span. So this is the best you've ever cleaned this toilet, okay? You want it to be extremely clean in there. Clean it really, really well and then dry it out. You don't want any water in that. Once you have that toilet completely dry, and remember, drain the tank as well. But in an emergency situation, that tank water can be used for all kinds of things, not for drinking, but that tank water can be used for washing, for laundry, for other things that you'd use gray water for. So don't just throw that tank water down the drain. Keep that tank water if you have a toilet that has a tank on it. But make sure it's completely dry too. Once it's completely dry, you're going to take that racquetball in a sock with some Crisco on the end and you're going to shove it down the pipe at the bottom of the toilet. Now what you're doing is creating a tight seal with that grease and the racquetball against the pipe. It may be that the racquetball is actually too small, and I don't know, because I haven't tried this in my toilet, I don't know if this racquetball is going to be too small. I suspect it actually might be. So if you look at your toilet and the pipe going down, the drain pipe is quite large, then you may need to actually get a lacrosse ball. So why are we using racquetballs on lacrosse balls and not a tennis ball or something of that sort? We don't want it to be porous. These balls are completely rubber. They're solid rubber, so they're not going to retain anything. They're not going to go rotten inside of your tank if they get a little bit of wet from the other side. It's just completely rubber. So racquetball or lacrosse ball, and I think I'll probably just have both on hand in case I need it. So you're going to shove it as far down that, you're just going to shove it until it stops and you've really plugged that drain. Why the sock? The sock is so you can retrieve it later. If hopefully everything is restored, we get sewer system back up and going again, and you're able to pull that back out again and get back to it. Because if you just shove the racquetball in, which some people recommend, you may never get back down to that again. So that's what the sock is for. So once you've done that, you're then going to line that toilet with heavy-duty garbage bag. So this is a heavy-duty garbage bag, just one of those outdoor bags. This is why every single time you go to Costco or wherever you might buy bags, buy another box of those. Stockpile those, stick them in your garage in the back corner. You don't need to be able to get to them, and they're not perishable. But you're probably going to go through a lot of those if we ever have an emergency situation. So you're going to line your toilet bowl with that, then put the seat back down. Now what that is for solid waste. So that's what, the kids will call number 2. That's what's going to go into that toilet. Let's talk about, first of all, what we do with the number 1, because that does not go into that toilet. That is only for solid waste. You're going to have a separate toilet, and it does not have to be anything like this. It just needs to be a 5 or 6 gallon bucket, and you need to have a potty seat that can snap onto the top of that 6 gallon or 5 or 6 gallon bucket. What you're going to use that for is, this is for number 1. This is for urine. It doesn't need a bag inside of it. This is where the number 1 goes, or the urine goes. It needs to stay completely separate from that solid waste. So you have this sitting next to the toilet, and you tell everybody in the house, if you need to go urine, this goes, you use this potty. If you need to go number 2 or a solid waste, that's going to go into the toilet. Now, what do you do with this once it's full? You go out and you can actually dump this in your yard, and it's going to be okay. So you'll be a little bit thoughtful about where you put it. Don't dump it on your garden. Don't dump it anywhere there, but you can actually dump it around and put it around your shrubs and your trees and those kinds of things, and it's okay. Then you're going to clean the bucket really, really well and go put it right back up into the bathroom. Again, you don't need a bag in this. It can just be in the bucket. And it doesn't have to be this special luggable loo bucket. It can be just a regular old 5 gallon bucket with a seat on it. Does it even need a seat? Not really. If you don't have one, then you'll live without it. But make sure that this is where the urine goes. All right, so now we're back to the dry potty. So you have it situated with the plastic bag or the garbage bag, and make sure it's a thick one. You don't want that tearing when you're throwing it away. A garbage bag inside of that toilet. You go, and then you have kitty litter there, and a small bucket of kitty litter next to the toilet would be a good idea with a scoop. So you're going to scoop out some kitty litter, and you're going to drop it over what's in the toilet. Now, if you don't have kitty litter, what else can you use? You can use sawdust. Think about things that might absorb things. Sawdust, wood shavings. Those are all things that you can use, sand, that you can use. What you're trying to do is to dry out what's in that toilet bowl now. So you're going to add kitty litter or whatever it might be. This is very inexpensive. This was about a $20 bag. You're going to just cover enough that it's covered. And so it will soak up the moisture and keep it from smelling also in that toilet. You're going to keep layering until you have more in there than you want to deal with, than you want to leave. You're going to then lift up the toilet seat, and you're going to take that entire bag. Now, this is why you're going to store disposable gloves and masks if you want them in your potty kit as well, because you're going to be disposing of things and you're going to be doing it with your hands. So you want to carefully carry that bag out. Now, what are you going to do with it? People will say, oh, I'm just going to put it back by my fence. Rats, insects galore, now you have disease. So we're not going to do that. You're going to dig a 2 to 3 foot deep hole. you're going to dump the bag into that hole. Now, you're not just dropping the bag in, you're dumping the contents of the bag into that hole, because if it's inside of the bag, it's not going to decompose the right way. Again, dumping the bag into the hole, the contents of the bag, then you're going to throw the bag on top of it. So as long as the bag's spread out on top of it, what's underneath will decompose. Then you're going to put some more of those materials. Sand, sawdust. I wouldn't use the kitty litter for that because you really kind of want to save it for the inside the house things. Peat moss is a great way to do it. Just more dirt is a great way to do it also. Cover it over and make sure it's completely covered over. Then you're going to cover the hole with a big piece of wood, a big board that you're going to secure down with a lot of heavy objects, because that is going to become all the dogs, the cats, the vermin, everybody in the neighborhood. That's now their new favorite place to go hang out. You don't want them being able to get into that hole and into your waste. So you make sure you have it very securely covered in between the times that you're dumping. Now, how often are you going to be putting a bag in there? Depends on how many people in your home, right? It may be fairly frequently. So you're going to cover that over. You're going to go back, you're going to put a new bag inside your dry potty and do it all over again. Now, what do you do when it's all the way full? So what happens when that 2 to 3 foot deep hole is pretty close to the top is you're going to put a 2 to 3 inch layer of hydrated lime. This is a horticultural product. You can get it in large quantities at like an IFA, a Cal Ranch, any of your ranching stores, anything like that. You're going to be able to find great big bags of it. Make sure to store that safely because it actually is very toxic and it can be very dangerous to animals and children or even adults. So I would store that in a closed 5-gallon bucket or a garbage can, something like that, and have it very clearly labeled so people know what is in there, that you don't want to mess with it. You're going to put 2 to 3 inches of that over top. Then you're going to put more dirt, more rocks, more everything so that a dog could not go in and re-dig up what you just put in that hole. Then you go and dig another hole and start all over again. Now, where should these holes be located? Where that hole is going to be fabulous ground sometime in the future, but you don't want to have cross-contamination with the garden, let's say. So you're not going to put it right by your garden. You're going to put it somewhere else, probably out of the way, at the edge of a property line, something like that, that's not going to contaminate what else the other things you have going on in that yard, any growing that you might be doing. You then go dig another hole. So that's the essence of it, is that you want to keep urine and solid waste separate. You're going to use this portable toilet, bucket toilet for the urine. You're going to dump that around your yard. That's safe. It's okay. When you have the solid waste, you're going to plug off the sewer line so that you don't get backflow into your home with the greased sock and the racquetball or lacrosse ball. You're going to line that toilet with the heavy-duty garbage bag, and then as you go, you'll put a little bit of kitty litter or other desiccant, other things that will dry on top of that solid waste. Continue layering until it's full, then go and dispose of it in the yard somewhere. Again, you dump it out, you put the bag over top, put some desiccant or something that dries it over that. When it's full, add the lime at the top. So that's a short and sweet version of what you should do to handle those wastes, those bodily wastes during an emergency. And hopefully that gives you some ideas of what to store. I got all these things and they're all going to be stored together. This is an easy thing to store and an easy thing to have on hand. Even in a short-term emergency, this is something that's really wise because, honestly, we can't go without water for about 3 days. We can't go with air for about 3 minutes, but water's the big one, 3 days. How long is it going to be before we have to deal with waste? A matter of hours, right? It'll be the first day that we have to start thinking about that. So some of these other things are actually a little further off than sanitation even. Drinking food's way further off than that. Sanitation happens day one. So this is something that you need to know how to do, and you need to know how to go and share this with your neighbors as well, because their problems are going to be your problems when it comes to a sanitation issue. So you need to be able to share and help them to learn and do it the right way as well. Okay, thank you very much. Again, if you want to know more information, it is a wonderful website, firstrespondermom.com on YouTube, and there's more information there, or always check out our website, www.mmsteakselfreliance.com. We have lots of information, lots of free content on there to check it out.